discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and considering the deployment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel or devices or a security audit. It is now 5 o'clock still, and we're now going into closed session. Good evening, everybody. It's now 6:30, and we're back in open session for the regularly monthly meeting of the Bernie Independent School Board of Trustees. We do have a quorum. We have Ms. Maritza Gonzalez-Cooper, Jessica Davila, Garrett Wilson, our superintendent, Dr. Price, myself, Rich Senna, Carlin Fryer, Donna Sharp, and Joe Tidwell. So we are back in open session, and we'll begin with the pledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise? And gentlemen, please remove your caps for the presentation of colors by the award-winning Bernie champion JROTC. Following the presentation of colors, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge with students from Cibolo Creek Elementary School representing K-Cub News, Politeness Patrol, Student Council, Book Club, Cibolo Creek Elementary. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Order, arms, colors, post. Colors turn, arch.
And now please join us in a moment of silence. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Fellowship of Christian Athletes champion high school senior Addison Hankins to lead us in prayer.
Please bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, I thank you for this day and for the ability to come here and the freedom. I pray that you bless every discussion held in this room tonight. I pray that you give the board discernment and peace about any decisions made tonight. I pray that you bless us all on the way home tonight, and I pray that you fill the halls and the classrooms of any BISD office or school with your presence, Lord Jesus. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Addison. You may be seated. And our board members, Cibolo Creek students, have some questions for our board members, so who would like to get started, Cubs?
Good evening, students. It's great to have you here.
How long have you been a leader with the Bernie ISD?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, this is my 9th year, but I think we can go around the room and get an idea.
So I just finished my first year as a board member, and I've been serving just a few months longer than this guy right here.
That's right. I am about a year as well.
So I am in my 8th year on the board. I just finished my 7th.
I think I'm 7.
Age or year?
2nd grade?
Wow, you're young to be a leader. It's great.
My favorite part of school is math. My teacher makes it really fun to do it.
Awesome.
This isn't really a question, but I would just like to thank all of you for what you do.
Thank you very much.
What,
What is the hardest thing about being a board member?
Who wants to answer that question? Well, I mean, there is a lot to learn. You have to learn a lot about, we're responsible for setting a budget for the school district to educate almost 11,000 students. So we have to learn a lot about budgets. We have to learn about school finance, which is an incredibly complex topic. There's a lot of policies we have to learn about, and we have to spend quite a bit of time doing it, but it's all for a good cause. And who else?
oh, that's actually exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. It turns out school finance is fairly complex in the state of Texas. And so, yeah.
And what grade were you in? I didn't remember if you said already.
4th.
Do you have a favorite subject or class or activity?
Math or science?
Man, everybody loves math. That's outstanding.
Good for the future of our country.
Thank you very much.
Who's next?
What is your schedule like on a daily basis?
Mr. Fryer, why don't you answer?
Sure, I'll take that. So this is not a job. This is a volunteer position that we get elected to do. So all of us have regular jobs that we do during the day. And then we take, our employers are nice enough to let us have off to go to committee meetings and visit campuses and do all those kinds of things. And then this is what we do in the evenings to help support the school districts.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I haven't figured it out either.
Yeah.
How long does it take for a rule to be made, and what is the process?
How long does it take for a rule to be made?
You could probably answer that. It depends what kind of rule, from like the city side, something here at the school, or like a law, for example. So I have a small story about a law that was for one of my daughters that graduated here. And it took me about a year for a law to be passed with her. She had severe peanut allergies. And so for the state of Texas, I decided to champion a law to help all students in all public schools have a new records bill with the schools that we implement here in Bernie. Didn't even know that I was impacting Bernie ISD at the time when I lived in Corpus Christi. But when, and you're our legislative on the committee, but here in the state of Texas, our legislation meets every other year. So it took me about a year and a half to have a new law, and it's called Schuyler's Bill, named after my daughter, and it is to help every child with food allergies in the state of Texas to make the schools safer. So that law that I worked on was pretty easy, but there's other laws and rules that take a long time. So it just depends on where the rules are. In my house, it only takes me minutes to make up a rule, so that's very, very easy.
You know, we have different committees sometimes that study issues. Now, Mr. Fryer, you were on the dress code committee, were you not? And how many meetings did you have to discuss that?
We probably met 4 or 5 times over a school year to come up with what the new dress code was going to be about 2.5, 3 years ago. So, and then the board voted on it after the committee made their recommendations.
Too, because that's an example of some rules we passed that didn't go well when we first put it out, from things at our level, some things we didn't think about, and that required being able to go back and say, hey, we should probably do this a little better than we did the first time. So I think it's a great example of being able to realize when things aren't really meeting what you intended them to do and try to make them better.
So what grade are you in?
I'm in fifth.
Fifth grade. What's your favorite subject?
Math.
Love it.
Wow.
And do you follow the rules at school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Cibolo Creek.
And can we have the parents of our students that are here from Cibolo stand up and raise your hands? Where are the parents of these fine students? Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Benway. Okay, we do have to have an approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. We have a motion from Mrs. Sharp, and I think Dr. Tidwell seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Mr. Benway, I think you're back up.
President Senna, Dr. Price, Board of Trustees, and our guests. This is the part where we honor our students and staff in commendations. And each month we honor the very best accomplishments of our Bernie ISD students and staff. Tonight, we have a total of 7 commendations. And as our board and Dr. Price walk down here, I'll tell you a little bit about a preview of them. So in all tonight, we're going to commend nearly 50 students and staff for various awards, a couple of statewide awards, several regional awards, and a very fun award at the end that we're going to honor. So, as our board walks down, we want to remind all parents that are here, come on up, take pictures of your students. We're going to have a chance for photos after each commendation. So let's start off commendations tonight with our 2022-23 Bernie ISD Student Advisory Council. Let's give them a round of applause. The council is made up of student leaders from Champion and Bernie High School. The students will be working with Dr. Price and district administration on important topics and events, as well as providing student feedback on district initiatives. For example, this year, they will play an integral part in designing the Bernie ISD Portrait of a Graduate. The council will meet throughout the year at Bernie and Champion High School. And the council held their first 2 official meetings so far and discussed important topics that will impact themselves and their classmates. Let's have one more hand for our Bernie ISD Student Advisory Council. And can we have our parents of our council either stand up or raise your hands? We want to make sure we honor you for coming here tonight. Thank you all for being here. Our next commendation recognizes Bernie High School senior Tucker Rouse for a statewide accomplishment. Let's give Tucker a round of applause. Tucker was selected as the top leader at the Youth Leadership Conference, sponsored by the Hill Country chapter of the Military Order of the World Wars. Tucker was awarded a bronze Patrick Henry Medal at the USS Lexington in Corpus Christi over the summer. This is an outstanding accomplishment, and we are proud of Tucker's leadership. One more time for Greyhound Senior Tucker Rouse. And can we have Tucker's supporters, family, principal, raise your hands in support of Tucker? Thank you all for being here and supporting him. For you fishermen in the audience, you're going to be jealous of this next commendation. Please welcome award-winning fishermen from Champion High School, Cooper Kennel and Eli Christian. Cooper and Eli were named Anglers of the Year by the Faith Angler Network, and both were awarded scholarships and other prizes for earning this honor. Through a passion for competitive fishing, Faith Angler Network is committed to invest in the lives of young anglers by fostering a network that is dedicated to share the life-changing reality of faith, fishing, and friendship. And Cooper and Eli are the first champion anglers to letter in that sport. And the Angler Network kicked off on September 10th in Canyon Lake, and they finished 7th out of 85 teams. An impressive showing. Congratulations to Cooper and Eli. And can we have Cooper and Eli's family and friends raise your hands? We want to make sure we thank you for being here tonight. And if you need fishing lessons, call those two gentlemen. Our next commendation honors Bernie High School sophomore Braden Gardner and Day One Bags. Let's give them a round of applause tonight. To open the 2022 football season, Day One Bags debuted its When You Are Here, You Are Home t-shirt, which was designed by Braden. And we have some designs that Dr. Price will show the audience here tonight. Both Bernie and Champion sold the shirts at their campuses, as well as at the athletics office and online. In all, Day One Bags raised nearly $17,000 with proceeds benefiting foster youth in South Texas. Congratulations to Day One Bags and the Beaton family and Braden Gardner for the design and our great community. Let's give them a round of applause for this fantastic event. And if we could have supporters and friends of Braden, where are y'all at? Raise your hands. Thank you for being here tonight. And the Beatons are up here from Day One Bags as well, sporting the wonderful t-shirts. And Day One Bags has also brought t-shirts for all of our board members as well. And Braden will autograph those so we can show them off here at Central Office. So Braden, please sign the shirts and we will show them off right here in our office building. And our board members will get their t-shirts afterwards. So thank you very much for bringing those. And notice there are two colors, one for Bernie and one for Champion. They both had their own personalized colored t-shirts. One more round of applause for Braden and Day One Bags. Our next commendation congratulates Bernie High School Assistant Principal Lauren Sanders. Let's give Mrs. Sanders a hand. Mrs. Sanders has been selected as the Region 5 Outstanding Assistant Principal of the Year by the Texas Association of Secondary School Principals. You might be thinking Bernie ISD is in Region 20. Well, this is from her old school at Nederland High School, which is Region 5, and we love to celebrate success, so we wanted to celebrate this award from last year and congratulate you on that. Nominations are based upon exemplary performance and outstanding leadership. As the Region 5 winner, Mrs. Sanders is eligible to compete for the title of Texas Assistant Principal of the Year. She has 12 years of experience in education and came to Bernie High School over the summer. We are glad you are here. Congratulations, Mrs. Sanders. And Mrs. Sanders' family here, Coach Sanders, let's say hello. And I think the sons are here too. Thank y'all for being here. Our next commendation makes me feel rather lazy when I describe it. Cibolo Creek Elementary School second grade teacher Amanda Asher. Come on up. An amazing accomplishment for Miss Asher. Wait till you hear about this. Mrs. Asher placed 3rd overall out of 400 plus runners in the Trans Rockies Marathon in Colorado in August. Get this, over 6 days, she ran 120 miles at 20,000 feet of elevation gain. Her team made the podium as a top 3 team in 4 out of the 6 days during the race. And when she was on the podium, she sported her Bernie Greyhounds shirt. So just to give you some perspective, last year she completed a 70-mile race. So she almost doubled it this year with 120. Mrs. Asher, also our Cibolo Creek Teacher of the Year. So congratulations to her. And is Mrs. Asher's family and supporters here? Where are y'all at? Thank you for being here and supporting her. And we have one final commendation tonight. It recognizes Keith Domke, former general manager of the Bernie Star. Let's give Keith a round of applause. Keith is an award-winning journalist with over 40 years of experience in the newspaper industry. For the past 3.5 years, Keith was the general manager and then managing editor of the Bernie Star. In addition to his editing duties, Keith covered Bernie ISD, where his responsibilities included writing stories about the district and helping spread the word about the success of Bernie ISD. Keith's last day at the Bernie Star was last week, and he will begin his new role of managing editor at the Brenham Banner Press next week. We greatly appreciate Keith's contributions to our community, and we'll miss him. Keith, thank you so much for all you've done for not only Bernie ISD, but for our community. Keith Domke, ladies and gentlemen. And let's have one more hand for all of our commendations here this evening.
Dr. Price asked me if I wanted to say a few words, and anybody who knows me, I never waste that opportunity. So first of all, thank you, Brian. Thank you, trustees. Thank you, Dr. Price. It's been a true honor and a privilege to cover this board, cover this school district. Those of you who know me know I've kind of been well traveled in my career. I've worked in 7 states, dozen or so newspapers, covered hundreds, if not thousands, of school board meetings in my career. This is the best school district I've ever worked with in a 40-year career, and I mean that wholeheartedly. So everybody give yourselves a round of applause. And if I can say real quickly, Zachary Taylor Wright, who is my replacement, you'll know him because he's the tallest guy in the room. Please show him the same respect and courtesy that you always showed me. He's going to do a great job, and I'm honored to pass the reins on to him. But just thank you. It was tough to leave Bernie. Opportunity came that was just too good to pass up. And Brenham is where Bluebell is, so free ice cream for everybody.
Congratulations. Thank you.
And for the first time in my career, I think I'm going to leave during a meeting instead of staying for the entire meeting.
Thank you, Keith. And Mr. President, I will pass it back to you, sir.
Okay. Brian, I think you're still up.
Yes, sir, President Senna. Our next presentation is what we're calling the Bernie ISD Video Highlight. We have several videos included in this, which will feature our District Teacher of the Year, as well as a wow moment for the Bernie Education Foundation, Hispanic Heritage Month, and the first Limelight recipient of the school year. So now is our Bernie ISD Video Highlights.
Hi, my name is Jenny Brewer, and I coach cross country and track at Champion High School, and I teach in the business incubator and entrepreneurship. I remember my high school cross country coach made a very big impact on me, and when I went to college, I realized that I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I really focus on, I tell them a lot that they're going to grow in my classroom in ways that aren't really tangible. They speak every day, they have to stand up and they redesign usually a consumer product or packaging of some kind as their warm-up every day. I kind of get them into the mindset of when you're 5 and you go into kindergarten and the teacher asks a question, 20 hands go up. Everyone wants to say, pick me, I want to answer the question. And as they get conditioned into high school, they lose some of that sometimes because either someone has said you're not smart enough, or they're worried about answering the wrong, saying the wrong answer, or they're worried about the way that they're perceived by their peers. And so I try to get them to say, when you're redesigning things, go back to your 5-year-old self and just make it like there's no rules, and to go back to really having an ability to use your imagination. As a career in general, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's on the track or in cross country, pouring into kids gives you so many things back that are just, it becomes your identity because of the way that the kids feed you and you feed into the kids. And it's, that's the special, that's what my coach did for me in high school. And so that's what I aspire to do for the kids.
Bernie ISD celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month by recognizing the achievements and contributions of members in our community. Steve Bettis was sworn in as the 6th Chief of the Bernie Police Department on February 25, 2022. After serving 4 years of active duty in the United States Army as a mechanized infantryman with the 1st Infantry Division, he began his law enforcement career in 1998 with the Alamo Community College's District Department of Public Safety. In 1999, he joined the City of Bernie as a police officer. Chief Bettis serves on several local nonprofit organizations as a board member. He is a graduate of Texas A&M University, San Antonio, with a BA in criminology. He was also a member of the FBI National Academy, Class 257. Chief Bettis has been married for more than 21 years to his wife, Kathleen. They have 2 sons, Diego and Max, who attend school here in Bernie ISD. This Hispanic Heritage Moment is sponsored by Cibolo Family Medicine.
Hi, my name is Emma. Welcome to Faber Elementary School. Today's one moment will be in Miss Williams' classroom, where the students are learning how to create acute angles with 3D pens.
I applied for a grant called Acute Approach to Angles, and this provided my students with 3D pens and the filaments that they needed to build angles that will connect to naming each angle between obtuse, right, and acute. This allows them to get a better understanding before building upon the next grade level's objective. They actually got a lot more out of it than I expected. I was able to connect them to a lot more objectives than just what I wrote my grant for. Our modern day learners are more kinesthetic, we've come to find out, and it really helps them solidify that knowledge, and they're able to remember it better because they were able to manipulate it in their hands. It's able to be used in different subjects too.
Thank you for supporting every student, every teacher, and every school in Bernie ISD.
This month's Limelight recipient is Fabra Elementary 5th grader Madeline Bindley. Madeline joined Fabra Elementary prior to her 4th grade year and has been a model student since the day she walked onto campus. She serves as a news anchor on our KFES news team, is one of the leaders of the Fabra dance team, and is an active participant in the Green Machine Running Club. Her teachers say that Madeline is an outstanding student. She consistently gives 100% in all activities she's involved in. Her positive attitude and cheerful personality are a joy to everyone she's around. She is the perfect example of a Fabra Falcon and is a role model student and natural leader. This month's Limelight recipient is Fabra Elementary 5th grader Madeline Bindley.
Let's have a hand for our students and staff featured in our videos tonight. I think what you just saw, that 5 minutes, encapsulates what we try and promote to the community. A couple of thank yous before we invite Madeline up here to talk to the board. Want to thank Mr. Ladiolis. Great job on the voiceover. For Limelight, you're going to take my job soon. People will be happy about that, I think. But thank you for doing the voiceover. Great job. Thank you to BEF for our wow moment. That turned out great. And, of course, Coach Brewer for our Teacher of the Year. And then Hispanic Heritage Month, Chief Perez. What a great leader he is. But now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the front from Fabra Elementary, our Limelight Student of the Month, Madeline Bindley. Come on down, Madeline.
So, Madeline, so this is your second year in Bernie.
Yes.
That's pretty incredible that with only a little over a year, you've reached this limelight. Where were you before you moved to Bernie?
Well, I was in Berkheim at Cordillera, and then I went to Herf and Cibolo Elementary, and then we moved to a different house, so I went to Fabra.
So you've been around Bernie ISD quite a bit.
Yes, sir.
And they're all great schools, right?
Yes.
No one's, okay, good. What questions do we have for Madeline?
Man, you're involved in a lot of stuff. You're on the news team, right? What else was there?
Run club, dance team.
Dance team.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so what's your why do you get involved in everything? I'm just curious. What's the the drive to go make a difference?
Well, I honestly love to put myself out there and just show what I can do. And honestly, everything is just so much fun. So I just think it's so much fun because I love dancing, running, and I've always wanted to do the KFES. So I think it's really fun.
Madeline, do you know what you want to be when you grow up, when you're an adult?
No, but I was thinking of a veterinarian so that I can help cats and dogs and save animals. So
we have a great ag program. And Dr. Price, do you want to share about some of the updates? Yeah. That's coming up. Oh, it's coming up in a little bit. Okay, great. Any other questions for Madeline?
How does running 120 miles?
horrible.
Well, thank you very much and congratulations.
And Madeline's family's here. Please stand up as well. Thank you all for being here. Mom, Dad, Grandma. They're here to support Madeline as well. All right, President Sena, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Benway. Okay, item number 5 on our agenda is consider action, if any, regarding items discussed in closed session. But we didn't have any, so we can move right along from there. Okay, item number 6 is visitor comments and testimonials. We do have 4 speakers tonight. Let me just read a little bit of background information before we proceed. Any person wishing to address the board about a topic related to district business during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard per district policy. Each person wishing to speak must sign up in person, okay? Limited to 3 minutes. Over time, overall time limit for comments will be 30 minutes. The board encourages the public to discuss concerns with an appropriate administrator who has the authority to address the concerns. concerns should be expressed as soon as possible to allow early resolution at the lowest possible administrative level. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion of the issue until the appropriate time during the meeting. Finally, please be aware that rules of decorum will be enforced during the public comment period and throughout the meeting. Disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Those who choose to engage in such behavior may be asked to leave, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so the first speaker we have is Susanna Hogan. Ms. Hogan, you got the stage.
Dr. Price, Mr. President, members of the board, I'm the parent of a 2022 Bernie grad. I'm also the current president of PFLAG Bernie, and I've been working alongside Gleason, Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, to help create a more inclusive, supportive environment for all students. First, I would like to thank you and the teachers that have started sharing more inclusive works in school. This small gesture is huge to our students and shows compassion and understanding. This is growth in Bernie ISD, and I'm proud to be a part of that. I'm also aware of ugly comments online, parents actively trolling teachers who put their heart and soul to their work and the students. Remember, in these moments, that doing the right thing isn't always easy, and the known followed tradition isn't always right. As William Arthur Wood said, great leadership is based on inspiration, not domination, and cooperation, not intimidation. Inspire your staff. Allow your staff to be creative and inspire the students. The classroom is so much more than just facts. This is where our students start to formulate who they are, what they believe. Teach them to be kind and compassionate humans. You can't ignore the past, but you can create a better, brighter future. And I will leave you with this thought. When you erase the history or the experience of one student, to protect another, what you're also saying is that there's only one type of student worth protecting. As Amanda Gorman said, there's always light if we're brave enough to see it, if we're brave enough to be it. Be a light for all of our students in this too dark world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan. Thank you. Okay, our second speaker is Maxie Zinsmeister. Maxie, come on up.
Good evening. I want to start out today by saying thank you for those involved in saving us taxpayers a lot of money. This is in reference to the building of the new Kendall County Law Enforcement and EMS station in Bergheim at Voss Middle School. Your willingness to make the needed property available will prevent us taxpayers from purchasing property at exorbitant rates, but will also help ensure that this campus is one of the most secure in the county. I know we taxpayers already purchased this property, however, your actions resulted in us not spending more money. So again, thank you to all involved in making that happen. I would also like to take time to thank you for lowering of the tax rate this year to offset the obnoxious property appraisals sent to some of us this past spring. 81% guy here, so any relief I can get from BISD matters. Kendall County has lowered their tax rate by 2.5 cents per hundred, and BISD appears to be roughly the same amount. Now, not being one that appreciates taxes, there are several things on the November ballot that we, the taxpayers, need to consider. Unlike the federal government, we taxpayers can't just print money to spend, so we must spend our money wisely. We're already on the hook for the BISD bond issue that was passed earlier this year to upgrade technology, enhance security, and build a swimming pool. The City of Bernie is looking for money via bond election, which doesn't affect me as I don't live in the city. But if I did, I would vote no, as we have already seen how well they manage money based on what they spent for that horrendous logo that they came up with. In precincts 2 and 3 of the county, we will be voting on ESD 1, Proposition B, a new taxing authority that will simply morph into a bureaucracy that we will keep sending more money to every year and not make services any better than what we have. Based on the proposed budget of the ESD, they are looking to go for the max tax rate of 10 cents per hundred, canceling out any tax savings we will be getting from BISD and the counties. Yours truly will be voting on this as well. The last item to be considered is the county bond issue, Proposition A, that has been placed on the ballot for November. I will vote yes on this bond and will be encouraging everyone in Kendall County to do so as well. The bond is very important for the protection of our groundwater and to help stave off development. We have heard environmental concerns raised in county commissioners' court meetings as well as transportation committee meetings repeatedly. So this is our chance to do something about it. In addition, if we don't have a readily available supply of water, we won't be able to fill our new swimming pool, resulting in millions of wasted dollars. From ESD perspective, houses will burn to the ground anyway if there will be no water to put on a fire should it happen. I encourage everyone to get educated on these issues coming up on the ballot and make choices wisely as far as where we're going to spend our money going forward. BISD and Kendall County are giving us a break. Let's use their savings for something meaningful and push the county for countywide solutions. I had to practice.
Than the Transportation Committee meeting when you spoke there today. So you did good.
I just have to keep saying it until somebody listens to me.
Thanks, Maxie. All right. Our third speaker is Eloy Garcia. Good evening, Mr. Garcia.
Of course not gonna. I'm here to talk about something that happened to my wife this last year. My wife's name is Belinda Garcia. She taught dual credit at Bernie Champion. She taught in Bernie from 2007 to 2022. She was a champion from 2017 to 22. Taught dual credit 17 to 22. AP 18 to 22. I always teased her because she was teacher of the year in her third year here for the district, not just for her school. I always teased her because I always told her that she was going to have a Mr. Hollins moment at the end of her career, because the volume of cards and gifts and letters and invitations are just, like, you'd have to see it to believe it. It's amazing. Well, unfortunately, in May of 21, she signed a contract for the 21-22 school year. That contract went hard in July of 21. And in September, after the contract was already in place, she was informed that she was going to get paid less. She gets money, not a stipend. It was never defined as a stipend. She gets money from the junior colleges to teach the dual credit and what have you. She was supposed to be compensated $5,900 for her work last year. Due to moves by HR and the administration of this district, she was only given $3,000. In previous years, she was given what she was supposed to be given. This is money that comes from a third party. It does not come from you. It comes from a third party. Many teachers protested when they were first told that this would happen. Policy was changed to basically, accommodate everybody except for my wife and another individual, which I think the amount was negligible, so they didn't complain. $3,000 in our household. I don't know about yours. Also, the damage to her over her retirement, because she's due to retire or is eligible for that this year, I estimate at $20,000. Requests were made to meet with the HR. She was sent a letter where she was scolded and ignored. She asked the superintendent for a meeting. She was granted that meeting. The scolder ran the meeting. The superintendent did not intervene to address her concerns directly.
Excuse me, Board President. Local and legal policy BE does not allow for individual employees to be singled out in a public presentation of a complaint. Those must be presented to the administration in writing.
Okay, I'll just summarize it. I've got a recording of the meeting. You all can listen to it for yourself. She was threatened with her job at the end of that meeting. You listen to yourself. I've got my card in here. You can contact me. Please don't contact my wife. Just this last comment, if I could, real quick. The stress that this put on her exacerbated an operation in April. She had to get a hysterectomy. She was having problems with that part of life. And I feel that the stress that was inflicted on her by the decisions made by this district were the reason why. Here's all this. I'll leave it up there. at your leisure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Okay, and our last speaker is Mike Stewart.
Howdy. My name is Mike Stewart. We've got 3 kids in the district. Been up here before asking about a dialogue on school safety. Y'all know my position. Just want a community dialogue. I'm not convinced that's really taking place, even behind closed doors. Nonetheless, I'm here again to ask for a dialogue on school safety. Yes, we've made small steps, and I appreciate that, and that's good. But I want to have a dialogue about arming our faculty and staff. It's as simple as that. So today I wondered what I should say to convince you to have the dialogue. So God puts things in front of us for a reason. Today was one of those days. So I had planned to take a customer to lunch, but we finished early, so we moved on. I wrapped up some stuff at the office and went on a late lunch, very random. I went to Freebird's World Burrito, a favorite of mine. So while I was waiting in line, a lady came up behind me, and then behind her, a law enforcement officer. So I said to myself, she's probably got places to be. And I asked the lady behind me, I said, could we let this lady cut in front of us to go on about her day? The lady behind me obliged and asked the Leo, would you cut in front of us to go get your lunch? And she reluctantly agreed, stepped in front of us. And I said, by the way, I'll take care of your lunch. So as she walked by me, I realized she was a Northeast Independent School District police officer. So I told her, I said, it's pretty ironic. I'm going to go talk to my school board about arming teachers. And she said, I wholeheartedly agree. So was that a random 1 in a million opinion? Or was that me being in the right place at the right time to further my view or opinion? Or is it God pushing me to push y'all to do the right thing? So please pull back the veil and let's have a dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Next on our agenda, item 7 is the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as is.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Ms. Gonzalez Cooper. Okay, are there any questions on this motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Okay, great. Motion carries. All righty, item number 8, governance. Let's start, go around the room. Joe? Last week
it all blurs together. And part of that was also briefing on, obviously there's other things going on now with the bond. One of the things that I really like, and I'm sure is mentioned in other committees as well, sorry on the days, yesterday or today, the vendor meeting for local contractors on the bond. One of the things I think is one of the neatest things since I've been a part of this is how much focus we are putting into trying to get as many businesses in Bernie involved our bond and our building and keep as much of that money as possible inside our own community. And it's probably, well, for most people, you probably don't see it on the outside. That incurs, that's basically our staff volunteering to do a whole lot of work because it means for everything, every small project, every big project, we have overhead on how to manage that, bid it out, select who's going to do it, which you don't really have when you just pay someone from the outside to run all of that. So it's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it, and I think it's one of the more significant things we've done. We'll see how it continues to develop, but and I think that came from within. I don't know if it came from Henry or for whoever, but that came from the bottom up. That wasn't, something brilliant that we came up with. So anyway, thank you, and I'm really excited to see how that works out going forward.
Great, thanks, Joe. Donna?
So on August 23rd, we had a program evaluation meeting, and essentially we went over our scorecard indicators for student success with regard to all of our measurements of CCMR, meets grade level, meets and so forth. We are looking at making sure our 22-23 scorecard goals are reaching, but we're taking into consideration the changes in the STAR testing, and anytime a new STAR is introduced, it takes a while to kind of get used to what that's going to be. So, but our goals are stretching. Another thing we discussed was our focus on P-TECH Early College High School for health science. And I know we've got the application submitted, and we should hear something this month, fingers crossed, but it's going to be another exciting second early college high school that Bernie ISD will be able to present to our students. And then, so that was about it for that meeting. And then, Maritza, did you have anything to add? Okay. And then we had our whole child committee meeting yesterday. This covers our special ed and 504 folks, and it's comprised of district people, leadership, as well as parents and community members. And we went over a review of what was accomplished, much was, in 20 and 21. Looking at our 3-year plan, we're anticipating a program audit, a self-evaluation, if you will, beyond just our dyslexia program, but everything that's, we talked a little bit about that, so you can shed light on that perhaps later more specifically. And we're really focusing on making sure that we make career exploration from elementary through high school available to these groups, as well as community events to involve parents as well as our students. And then we went into, and last thing, we had Anissa Moore, who is an expert with behavioral management, that she shares her expertise with teachers and in our training. And it was very interesting to hear how all of the ways in which we help our children self-manage aligns with our Whole Child Initiative and helps them grow, not just academically, but whole child, about how to manage and be socially ready as they exit our school. So that's about all I had for that, Mr. President.
Thanks very much, Donna. Appreciate it. Carlin, Finance?
Sure, we had a Finance Committee meeting on Wednesday, September the 20th. Had a number of items that we discussed, the first being the budget amendment that we will vote on a little bit later on this evening. We had a very lengthy discussion about that. And then Mr. Scott distributed details of that to everyone on Friday. Very good information in there. I think everyone's had a chance to review all of those. The biggest shift in there probably has to do with emphasis of funds towards safety and security that we didn't know were going to be in place when we passed the budget in June. So second thing we had a lot of discussion about was the initial sale, or the first sale related to the bonds that were passed in May. We did a 22 variable rate debt obligation, favorable interest rates. I think we're very short term on those. Mr. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're going to be able to retire about $12 million of that later on this year, so in December. So the other thing to note would be we're watching what the potential impact of the economically disadvantaged students could have on our school funding and on our funding. So last year, the USDA provided full meals for all students. We had to pick that up this year, but it has encouraged the free and reduced lunch application process, and so we're seeing a number of those applications come in. The number of economically disadvantaged students tends to be up. Those are favorably impacted in the school funding formula, so we won't know exactly what that impact is going to be, but it's something that we're keeping an eye on, and we'll know more after the snapshot at the end of October.
Great, thanks. Garrett, anything you want to add to the Finance meeting?
I think he touched on everything.
Yeah, you'll cover Legislative Committee?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I just had this 9-page document here. I just want to go ahead and read if we've got a minute. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, everybody. No, but it is 9 pages. And what this is, so we've been, in the Legislative Committee, we've been working on a 3-part series that, especially like when we went out to do the bond campaign and that sort of thing, and talking to members of the community. And and just learning about school finance ourselves and trying to wrap our heads around what the state of Texas, how it looks at it, and how it funds schools. We thought it'd be good for the sake of transparency to put together kind of like a primer about not only just the basics of school financing and how schools are funded in the state of Texas, but also sort of the history that Bernie's been through in regards to what our tax rate is and why our tax rate is that way in comparison to other districts around us. And then also talk about, how Robinhood has affected us over the last 10 or 15 years and what that, how we've had to kind of deal with that. And then also at the end of Article 3, just kind of tie all that into what our legislative priorities are. And so our hope is that as the community, we're gonna post this on the website. I think it's already on the district website, so people can go read it, look at it. We're gonna try to get it into all the local publications, be it newspapers or community magazines if we can. Just make it really accessible to people. So if people have any questions about how the district is running or why we do what we do, they'll be able to just kind of have a one-stop shop for that sort of information. So I think it'll be really good. It'll be beneficial. I mean, I feel like a broken record, but the quality of staff that we have in our district is, when you start looking at the numbers that we have to work with in terms of our funding, it's very apparent that we have just incredible staff and incredible families in the community that really look after their children's education. There's some great charts and graphs in here that show that we're, in the San Antonio area, we have basically less per student than any school district in the San Antonio area. Also, we have, out of all the fast growth districts that are like us, they're having to continually build buildings and have a lot of CapEx. We have the lowest INS tax rate out of all those districts, and yet our students consistently achieve more than all these other, maybe not all the other districts, but many and probably most of them, and definitely better than the state average. All of them. There you go. No, I didn't want to say it unless I knew it to be true. So yeah, that's the kind of information that's in here, and hopefully everybody will get a copy and read it. So
people can go to if they want to get it.
Yeah, it's under board. It's under board and leadership, and there's a second. Brian, there's you placed. Where's Brian?
Yes, sir. It's on the board and leadership page, and it's under the school finance tab. And also next week, as a district, we're going to be sending that out on our social media pages with the link to that website. And in our next parent newsletter, that will also go out to 23,000 parent emails as well. So that will all happen next week also.
Yeah, and the point of getting it in the local press is that, gosh, about 60% of our households in Bernie do not have children in Bernie ISD. So they aren't aware of this information unless we get it out into the local press. So that'll be important. It's really all part of transparency to explain as best we can a very complicated topic. And we've shared it with a lot of folks, including some of the folks in this room that are anti-tax activists. And I will tell you, they gave some great edits and great suggestions as how to make it readable, easy to understand, and so forth. So it's important that we do that. It's for the fourth year in a row, we're lowering our tax rate. And I think Garrett mentioned we do have the lowest tax rate of any of the 17 fast growth districts in the Austin, San Antonio area. And I think a lot of our folks don't necessarily know that, and they should, So anything else, Garrett?
Nope, that's it.
Great. And we've shared this with the legislative candidates that will be representing Bernie ISD in the House, in the Texas House next year. And they really appreciate it because they're responsible for healthcare, transportation, water, education. They've got just tons of issues. So if you can give them a primer on school finance and build support for our legislative priorities, I think that's a good thing. So, okay. Jessica, do you have anything on BEF?
I do, and I have something with the Communications Committee, so I'll start with that first. We met last month, and when we were reflecting on our work that we did last year, it was pretty amazing. Very proud of this. Thank you, Dr. Price, for launching this new committee last year. I think there was a lot of good work that came out of it, including campus communication guidelines and cadence. And again, this is another example, making sure that what Garrett just covered, having that out there for the community to see and that is so accessible. And if you could please share it on your social accounts if you so choose to support us to help with amplify our storytelling there. We have representatives from both Champion and Bernie High that sit on this committee. It's parent driven along with staff. That is, and Rich Senna joined us too. So thank you, Dr. Stewart, Dr. Price, and Brian for all of the work you've done with this committee. I look forward as we get through the year. We're already working on initiatives for this school year. So BEF, very exciting. We just had our Topgolf birdie for Bernie, Topgolf birdies for, what is it? Birdies for Bernie Topgolf tournament. That was a lot of fun, very engaging. It was a really beautiful day. And the best part about that was all of the money that was raised, the proceeds are going to benefit every teacher, every student, every school. We just received a donation for $10,000 from the James Avery Foundation. So we'd like to thank our neighbors at James Avery. If you can, to the men in the audience, please go buy your wife some James Avery so they can continue to support our schools. And big news, we just did this last week. I have a check that was, it was on our social media, but there's a check, if I have it right here, for $139,076.92. And the Bernie Education Foundation presented Bernie ISD principals with this check. This money will be distributed to each school based on per capita attendance. BEF knows this wouldn't have been possible without the hard work from past and present board members, corporate sponsors, and all the families and community partners that have generously given over the past year. So we're incredibly proud to present this to BISD. And I know Yvette is here, so thank you, Yvette, for your hard work. Cash it. This check doesn't bounce, so it won't if I drop it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Jessica. Maritza? Okay, and to wrap it up, the Transportation Committee, I'm a representative of the city and Bernie ISD on the Kendall County Fair Oaks Ranch, City of Bernie Transportation Committee. It's been a work in progress over close to 3 years. It was formed as an effort to have community-based recommendations regarding improved transportation and mobility in our county. As we grow, traffic gets worse and worse, and the committee really worked hard to not have a solution imposed on it by outside sources, be it TxDOT, gates, gateways, loops, what have you, and came up with a significant number of recommendations, and those recommendations will be finalized at the next meeting. I believe it's October 4th or 5th, and at that time will be approved and forwarded to the county commissioners and the city of Bernie and the city of Fair Oaks Ranch for their consideration and review and enactment, hopefully, as we continue to see growth in our community. So I know I've given some reports in the past. We've rounded third base. We are almost home. So it's a good feeling. And a lot of effort went into it. So that's an update on that. Okay, and now we move on to Dr. Price.
I've actually got pictures to show y'all tonight instead of just rambling some things. Let's go with the first one. All right. Notice signage. Yay! We have the signage. And I just we've really had possession of this since May. A lot of great work. And it goes to the partnership we have in the community. We could not have this wonderful facility without the Kendall County Fair Association coming forward and making this offer to us. for this facility, and it's already, if you haven't had a chance to walk around, great, a lot of updates, but what's neat is how many children are inside already. We're using about, I'd say maybe a third at the most of the area, but if you drive by early in the morning like I do, the lights are on, you can see the students with the lambs and the pigs, and it's something that's been very much needed in our community. It's providing opportunities for students who do not have access to the land that they need to raise these animals. And again, I will brag on the 4-H and FFA. They teach life skills. They teach how to run a business. It's not just going out watering or feeding or whatever you do to an animal before you sell it. It's all the business parts that go in it. Remember, all I do know how to do is cook it. So I do the end result. So I'm just very proud of the community for coming together. And this leads to the next one. It's another community thing I went to today, and we have a great partnership with the Hill Country Pregnancy Care Center, and they had their gala, 35 years. Wonderful program. They did their lunch this morning. They did their evening gala this afternoon. But just the things that they talk about really reflect our community. But I think what's neat is I don't know of any other school district in the state of Texas that has the partnership that we have, where the pregnancy center comes into our middle schools and high schools and actually teaches some of our curriculum to our students and some of the tough areas. Let me see if I can find, because I was curious, just so what subject areas do they tackle for us? Let me see if I can. Last year, 7th grade, the wellness class, they did the weight curriculum, puberty, review, reproductive anatomy, and pregnancy. And those are tough topics with the 7th grade group. And BHS, fetal growth, development, and STD education. So a wonderful partnership. So we always say reflection of our community. A big part of our community is our partnerships. So next slide. This I'm excited about. We did our first parent kind of parent education series, and we did it on about fentanyl, and we had a wonderful panel. One of the things we've wanted to do for a while is focus on, again, it's not just about hardening the schools. It truly is about educating our students, educating our parents and community about some of the scary things that are out there and how to recognize them and what we need to do as a community and pulling together. We had our district attorney, we had our police chief, we had DEA, and we had our new chief up there, and just the scary stories about fentanyl. And we had an amazing crowd for that night. I think 70 parents we counted in the audience. So much so, I think what I've gotten is feedback that we need to do it again because it's a new and they didn't know about it. But just the scary thing out there, every drug keeps getting more and more dangerous. And the one pill can kill thing, it's not that the drug dealers are trying to kill people. It's they're trying to make a profit at any means possible. And by diluting these drugs with this terrible, terrible chemical, and remember, the people that are mixing it are not chemists. They're self-taught. And in doing so, children and adults are dying. What sticks in my mind is a slide they showed us where it was a pencil and just showed the tip of a pencil which amounted to a couple of grains of salt. And that's enough to kill somebody. And that's just a scary thing. But if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it. So it was wonderful having that. And we have another series. We're going to continue that series early next October with cyber danger and just explaining the dangers that are out there. And it's not just on your computer. I mean, the kids have the phones, but it's true. It's through everything from Xbox to Minecraft, and what to look for. Human trafficking, and you met earlier the student advisory in their second meeting. We had sex trafficking presentation because I'm old maybe, and I thought, sex trafficking was a white van and you grab somebody at Walmart. And the reality, that doesn't happen. It is all about online baiting and switching for our kids and pulling them into a world that they think they can control. Remember how brave we were, and me, I was stupid at 14, 13. Our kids. And so what can we do as parents to help them and to look out for them and protect them the way we need to? The topic to be determined, we're looking at a continuation of sex trafficking and exploited and missing children, and what that means in our area. And then just that emotional safety, suicide prevention. What are we doing? How can we recognize it? We all know that COVID kind of mixed it all up even worse than what is normal. And so how can we watch out for our kids? We see this as being a continuation every year, building on topics that we get from all the different groups we have out there, whether they're student advisory, whether they're staff advisory, our PTO, our BEF. We get those suggestions. We're going to add those topics and really bring together the experts we have here, which is remarkable how many, and just have conversations. And I think it's a broken record. Like I said with the fentanyl one, we've got to come back. What I'm hearing is different groups want us to come. So it's a good first start as we go forward. Okay, go ahead with the next one. Okay.
I'll just say one thing just real quick, and if we do get another spot for that one, I was very impressed with the one pill can kill presentation. I mean, I went just to support and see what it was going to be like, and I think I didn't graduate. It wasn't that long since I was a kid. I mean, Coach Leach was teaching when I was in high school.
Well, he's been there.
He's been
there forever.
But I didn't realize how much I didn't know, and not to go into it here, but it was a lot that I realized I didn't know, and I just thank for everybody who volunteered and the whole series. But that one probably would be a good one to do again.
I think so. And I think also different. One of the things Rick has already done is, if anybody wants to listen, he has been very cooperative about going out and speaking to different groups. He spoke to the Rotary, updated them last Friday. We got away from it because of COVID about education as being not just for our students, but for our staff and our community. I think it's one of the things that we need to do. So,
Dr. Price, is there a way that we could record those sessions and put them online so that way parents can?
Yeah, we've talked about it, but the impact, what we're trying to get them to do is come in and watch. And then there's some people don't feel quite as comfortable being videoed. So we're working on those. We did some video work with it, and we're going to try to condense it instead of having the full hour, trying to condense it into a watchable segment, because I think it's more like anything. You go to live, y'all put up with us because we're sitting here talking, but if you wanted to watch this on video, I think that's hard to do. So we're trying to figure it out. We got the correct team we have back there working on it. What you see here is again, something else, partnership with our community. We did training across the street, and we've really stepped up our training over the past few months of what we need to do. And sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I just want to make sure people know we are taking it seriously, and we are letting experts lead us as we go through. That's the last picture, but I've got a few more things to just give you an update on. Joe mentioned something I'm really excited about. We had the subcontractor fair today, and it was 80 individuals who came together. Very, very touching, and they were touched that we thought about them, the local people. And here's the neat thing. The general contractors were just as excited because they didn't know these subcontractors even existed. So it gave some connections, and maybe they don't get the job here in our town, but maybe it's in Fredericksburg, or maybe it's in San Antonio. It's all about networking. So we gave these people the opportunity, and it really is concerted effort from all of us, whether it's with the bond or whether it's just buying food. We need to make sure we support our local communities. They give all the time, and it's just what we do. We need to do. So it was neat. We're going to be able to give you more information as we go, but it was exciting to see. We started our bond oversight committee. That kind of got delayed because of everything with safety and security and getting that going, but we started that this past week. I think, the thing to remember about the bond oversight is we went out, we did 100+ presentations. We convinced the community to support us on this bond. It's very important to all of us that what we promised, we produce. And that's the only role of that bond committee. It's not to pick carpet. It's not to go measure, quality. It's are we producing what we said? So we got that kicked off. Neat things about our kids this past week. We say all the time leadership is so important in giving kids the opportunity. And we saw that earlier with the Cibolo youngsters, and that little one, man, we could make some money off of her. She's gonna be a star. But we got to give these kids those opportunities. This past week, I was able to sit with over 100 of our extracurricular kids who joined the leadership with Stephen Mackey, and that is going strong, the biggest group we've ever had. We had the student advisory group the second time we met with them. At Fellowship of Christian Athletes last Friday. We had, and I think we're starting tomorrow, Leader Steps, which, again, a wonderful opportunity for our kids to not only to be talked to about leadership, but be given the opportunities to demonstrate it, which is the biggest thing about learning. You've got to be able to do and make mistakes about doing it. So it was fun to watch those as we went. Portrait of a Graduate is going great. We did our first meeting. We are having another one. If anyone is interested in joining that, just let us know. A Portrait of the Graduate, and this is the importance of it, if our arrows are not going in the right direction, we are growing so fast, we need so many different opportunities, but when it comes down to it, the ones who actually have to do it are in the classrooms. And if we're not careful, whether it's our students or our staff in the classrooms, and we don't focus those arrows, good intentions can drive us all crazy. So Portrait of a Graduate is what do we want to be when we grow up? And then we go into the strategic planning of how do you do it? And what are our goals? So that's the next step. First Responder Night is Thursday, and that is for Champion, correct? Champion. And Homecoming, y'all, Homecoming Parade was wonderful. Again, seeing the kids in action. And Homecoming this Friday, and this is the big drum roll. Bernie High School is number 4 in the state in 4A. Yep, they are doing great, and it's gonna be fun to watch. They slowly creeped up into that. Last thing, I think Donna mentioned special ed audit. One of the things we were doing prior to COVID with all of our organizations is we were going through and we were doing some self-audits, some 3-year plans, making sure, again, the arrows go in the right directions. But when you do self-audits, a lot of times you score higher than what maybe you should, because we all think we do well. So we are bringing outside individuals in, and not to play I got you, but are we truly meeting the needs of our students in those programs? And here's even, but how are we growing how are we setting goals and setting up our programs systemically to grow and meet those needs, not just today, but over the next 10 years? So we're really looking at that. One of the things in the bond we talked a lot about was our over 18 program. And part of this is going to focus on that over 18 program, and how can we make sure as we're building this building that we're making sure that what's going into it is going to meet those needs of those students in this really fast-changing world and environment, especially with Alamo College coming in. So that's a great thing that's going to be happening, and I think I've hit everything on my list. If not, I will send it to you on a
memo.
Any questions for Dr. Price?
I just wanted to thank local law enforcement for being at the parade yesterday and the community, just how it was so gracious to be able to visit with everyone. And on our way back, everything was so clean too. I said, we have such a clean community. I feel like everybody left it better than they found it just along the route. So thank you for that.
Okay, instruction.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Price. Tonight, I bring to you the annual report for advanced academics, which includes areas of gifted and talented, dual credit, PSAT, and SAT information. The information is directly tied to our scorecard under student success to meet our goals of increasing the percentage of students being college, career, and military ready. The preliminary scholastic aptitude test is mostly a practice test for the SAT that our 10th graders take, but for some of our 11th grade students that choose to take it and who earn a high enough score on the PSAT, they can qualify to receive the National Merit Scholarship. There are three subject areas that are tested in 4 timed subjects and 4 timed sections. The first section is the reading section, which tests, of course, the ability to read, think critically, and the passages are mostly in history and science, so an analysis of those is required. The writing language section tests the ability to identify and fix grammatical errors. And there are 2 math sections, one with a calculator, one without, and it's mostly algebra and problem analysis and solving that is tested on this test. BISD has chosen to test all of our 10th graders each year to prepare them for the SAT, which again is directly tied to CCMR, which is our state's 60 by 30 goal, which means 60% of all adults aged 25 to 34 in Texas will achieve a post-secondary degree or a workforce credential by 2030. The SAT results also contribute to the district's CCMR accountability system and is an indicator for our post-secondary distinctions. CCMR results can also earn additional funding through the CCMR outcome bonus. There are multiple ways that we prepare our students for this test. We offer, for our 8th grade students, we use study hall with mini lessons before they take the assessment. And for our 10th and 11th grade students, we offer Saturday tutoring and the Princeton Review for those prep courses. So for 2021-22, these are the results for our students. The date that it's administered, the grade level, and I have it there by column. So for example, 10th grade, October 2021, our district average was a score of 988 compared to the state average of 891, and the group is the national average of 918. In 11th grade, the same test, our 11th graders that chose to take it, the average was 1144, the state was 947, and again, the national group was 994. Our 8th graders took it in January of 22. The district average for all of our 8th graders was 889, compared to the state at 812, and our group at 831. And our 11th graders took it on the SAT school day, March of 22. Our district average was a 1058, which was higher than the state average of 990 and higher than the group average of 1004.
So, Larissa, all of our 11th graders take it, correct?
Yes, on the SAT school day scheduled in March.
Is that the same case statewide, or?
I have found that most school districts are moving in that direction.
But they're not there yet?
Not all of them, no, sir. College Board, which is the author of this exam, recognizes students in certain subpopulations for their achievement on these exams. Students must have a high GPA at 3.5 or higher. They must have excellent scores on these exams and have earned a 3 or higher on an AP exam. So compared to last year, these are our results from the 21-22 school year. We had 4 students that were nationally recognized under African American subpopulation, 25 under the Hispanic, 2 under the indigenous, and 62 under the rural and small town. So Compared to the year before, we did have 5 more Hispanic students and 23 more students in the rural small town category. So this is good information. For the National Merit Scholarship, we did have 1 student from CHS that is a finalist. That means that this student scored in the top 1/3 of all tests in Texas. The announcement for that will not be until February of 2023. But today we were notified that we do have 4 students from BHS and 7 students from CHS that received the National Merit Commended honor, which means that they scored in the top 2/3 of the scores in Texas. So that's good. I've lost my...
Working hard.
I was joking with him earlier, and that's why he's doing this. Yes, sir.
You know, you showed earlier about us outscoring a lot in SAT. One of the things, going back to what you asked, usually when you have more students taking the test, because you have not your elite, your scores usually go down. And we've done a good job of keeping up and still outpacing everyone.
That's why I asked the question, because if all of our kids take it, but only 50 or 60% in other districts take it, I would assume their better students are taking it. So the fact that we're still 70, 80 points, 100 points ahead is good.
It shows a lot about our teachers.
Absolutely. So the next slide that I was going to share was just the schedule of tests that are coming up for the 22-23 school year. So the first round will be October the 12th, where all of our 10th graders will be taking the PSAT, and those 11th graders that choose to take the PSAT National Merit Qualifying Test. The next round of tests will be for our 8th graders in January of 23, and then the SAT day for our 11th graders will be March of 23, which I believe is the week before spring break. So there is the schedule. Any questions on PSAT, SAT? Okay. Okay. And it froze again. Okay, now dual credit. Right. Moving on to dual credit. We have a BISD, we have 3 partners with dual credit: Northwest Vista College, Angelo State University, and of course our on-ramps program through the University of Texas. So what I have illustrated here for you are the district total credit hours earned for the 21-22 school year, which includes fall of 21 through summer of 22. So our students earned a total of 3,430 credit hours through our dual credit options. So roughly, when you put the pencil to it, our families and students are saving approximately $720 per Northwest Vista course, $1,700 per ASU course, and approximately $1,350 per on-ramps course. So our students and families are saving quite a bit of money for these offerings.
State, does that make it easier for us to find staff who can teach these courses at all?
Does it make it easier? They each have their unique qualifications. For example, on-ramps, a teacher does not have to have a master's degree. They just need to be able to receive the training. And so they partner with a college professor from the University of Texas. So that is kind of, in my eyes, a little easier to find. Northwest Vista College, they must have a master's degree and apply for employment with Northwest Vista. And then Angelo State is completely online, so those are Angelo State University. We do have a couple that are working towards credentials so that we can have on staff, but predominantly those are online courses.
Thank you.
Now for advanced placement. Another way that our students earn college credit is through the advanced placement exams, and there are multiple exams. What I'm showing here is our 5-year score summary for Bernie High School. So in 22, students at Bernie High School earned approximately 780 college credit hours. With these exams, you have to score a 3 or higher. And this is their average is 69.3% of all of their students in this last year scored a 3 or higher, which is excellent. It's a 10.64% from the year before. And also Champion High School, they earned approximately 1,608 college credit hours through AP exams, which was an increase of 1% from the year before. And their average of students that are scoring a 3 or higher is 70.8%, which is excellent. And I'm glad that the two schools are comparable.
Well, and also one of the things we discussed, usually the number of AP hours drops as we go up with the other dual credit availability. Now, I know we're growing as a district in numbers, but I think the pace of both the programs going up outpaces the actual growth.
The
overall growth. So it's a good indication that that is really picking up those, and they're using those opportunities.
So for the class of 22, or all of our graduates, 66% scored a 3 or higher on at least one AP exam, which is excellent. College Board also recognizes high school students who demonstrate outstanding college level achievement through performance on multiple AP exams. So for AP Scholars, this is for Bernie High School. These students receive a 3 or higher on 3 or more exams, and we had a total of 57 students at Bernie High School. AP Scholars with honors receive an average score of a 3.25 on all exams and score a 3 or higher on 4 or more exams, and we had 17 of those students at Bernie High School. An AP Scholar with distinction receives an average of a 3.5 on all exams and a 3 or higher on 5 or more exams, and we had 19 students at Bernie High School, which is excellent. We also had some students with the capstone diploma and who took the seminar research and earned a certificate through that. So that's just Bernie High School, 103. Champion High School, their AP Scholars, they had 115. AP Scholars with honors were 26. AP Scholars with distinction, 72. They also do offer the capstone diploma and the seminar research certificate for a total of 221 at Champion High School. This is excellent news. Any questions on dual credit? Okay, our last portion of the report is in response to gifted and talented programming. Gifted and talented students are defined as children who perform at or show the potential for performing at a remarkably high level of accomplishment when compared to others of the same age, experience, or environment. And they must meet those 3 criteria. We do screen every child in BISD at the kindergarten grade level. They're usually screened in December and January, and those that score at specified levels will be identified for further assessment. But there's also windows where teachers can nominate for further testing if they see children who could be identified as gifted and talented. That is our current list number of enrollment of identified students for Bernie ISD 2022. We are at 1,051 students. It's roughly 10% of our population. Compared to last year at 949, now we do have a higher enrollment. And that is also the grade distribution by grade level span. The average for Texas districts is 8%, and we are sitting at around 10.
You know, question on that. I think this is like a way higher number than we had 5-6 years ago. Is that because we're doing a better job identifying?
We are definitely improved our testing. And of course, our enrollment has grown, so that all of that contributes.
No, but the percentage, I mean, at 10%, that's, I remember at 5, you know. Now, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, does the state cap, you know, you get extra funding for gifted and talented, do they cap it at 5%?
I think it's 6.
6?
I think it's not the, we won't.
Oh, it is 5. It is 5%.
Yeah, we won't get the full amount.
We've done a good job identifying and providing. providing the services.
Yeah, I think one of the best things that we've done, the part that I always look at, is are we matching, are we reflective, that 10% reflective of the population? So are we increasing our Hispanic population in those, are we increasing our free and reduced lunch in those numbers? And it's not where I want it to be, but it's getting closer every year. And I think some of that is just what Larissa said. It's better identification and better training for our teachers to help identify that. So it's getting there.
Good.
Any questions on gifted and talented? I believe it is a parent nomination. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Larissa. Okay, Dr. Price, I think you're on next with item 10, bullet resistant shield grant application.
Yeah, this is more just getting your permission. There is, there's a lot of talk. One of the first things that Rick asked whenever he arrived was, he had heard that money was coming down from Austin for safety and security. Well, none of that's come to us yet. This is the first stab at that, and it is to give shields to all of our SROs at each of the campuses. I think it's something we need, but we need your permission to apply.
Okay, so we need a motion to pass and
Mr.
approve.
President, I'd like to make a motion to pass and approve the resolution as presented.
Okay, Ms. Sharp, okay, we have a second. Okay, great. Any questions for Dr. Price on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
All right, the next thing that we have, in closed session, we had safety discussion, and in that part of that safety discussion, we talked about a little bit about this presentation coming up. I was very impressed, and it was over Zoom, and it's hard to get impressed over Zoom about anything, but they did a super job, and as I mentioned earlier, what's impressive is if you really look at the tragedies in schools, a lot of it is happening where they're from in Colorado. And so I love to learn from what other people have done to improve their situation. And this is brought to us by a community coalition. Kevin Kleiner is really leading that, and I'll turn it over to you to kind of introduce what we need to know. Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. I am going to just share my screen. I think it's a little bit easier to kind of give you the visual of what this is going to look like. Which one is that? Drum roll.
There it is.
Excellent. Okay. Before I get started again, thank you. This is near and dear to my heart. I'm a 31-year law enforcement veteran. Spent 4 years in the Air Force and 27 years with the Denver Police Department. 22 of those years were assigned to, we have a full-time SWAT team. And of course, as you know, as you had said, Colorado, we are plagued with these things. Our community is hurt so many times, time again. And I've been involved in thousands of tactical operations to include hundreds of critical incidents to include these shootings, these mass shootings, responding to school shootings. So I've had an amazing career, yet I wish there were some things I didn't have to do and see. So that motivated me. That pushed me to do more to protect our children. Our number one resource, the best thing that we have in our lives are our children, and we're not doing enough. So I developed LifeSpot. LifeSpot solves 7 major challenges in an active shooter, active killer situation. I'm going to put those on a screen, and I'll go through these really quick. Number 1 is response time. How do we get the good guys there with guns faster than we do today? Number 2 is the notification, which has to do with response time. Well, who needs to know? Well, 1, the staff needs to know. 911 needs to know. The officer or deputy half a block away, they need to know. Fire and EMS, the command staff needs to know. And the way the system works today with 911, that's several, and can be dozens of minutes before anybody even knows what's going on. So we've got to change that notification process. Location, where's it at? Can the person calling 911 today, can they even get the words out? And does law enforcement know what part of that campus is on? Am I in the north side, the west side, northeast corner? Where am I? So location can hinder that response time as well. Next is communication. Ask yourselves, pick any one of your high schools more in particular, how many cell phones are in that high school? So God forbid that moment happens, the shooting starts, and everyone calls 911. How many call takers do you have on staff right now? Those lines are going to get full. We've seen it in Colorado every single time. You will have people calling up 911 for questions. Hey, is this real? What's going on? Can we come out? And you'll have people that can actually see that threat and get a busy signal or get put on hold. So communication on these events can be and will be a standstill. Next is the seriously injured. When communication is shut down, how do we get people in? How do we get the medical needs that we need? Where are they at and what kind of needs are they? Today, if 911 is down, you don't have a way. And we saw that firsthand, of course, in Denver with Dave Sanders, the teacher that gave his life for his children and bled out. So the seriously injured, another huge challenge. The reunification process. Once everything's done, when is it safe? I've been involved in incidents where people would not open the door for us, and you know what? They should not. They don't know who's on the other side of that door. We had to shove IDs under doors after an active shooter to get people to trust us to come out. It's already terrifying enough. Let's not make it worse by having a unorganized and dysfunctional reunification system. And then finally, armed identification. If you do have armed staff or armed security, when we show up, when law enforcement shows up, we don't know who the good guys are with guns versus the bad guys. So that's what LifeSpot does. All 7 of those challenges are solved by one simple to use phone app. Very simple to download. The training is extremely simple as well. We don't overdo it. We don't have a lot of whistles and bells. We use plain speak. We don't give scroll downs. We don't give choices. It's pick this, make a decision, and save lives. When you perceive a threat, that's what you see. We have a focus button. It's always driven me crazy. What do we tell somebody in a crisis? Don't panic. And then we have a panic button. They actually read the word panic and go find the panic button. We don't even want that in our vocabulary. So we use focus. The thing that we've done is when you use LifeSpot to go to 911, you're going to press, swipe, and hold. We have thousands of users across the country now. No one has ever butt dialed this thing. I'm going to knock on wood just to make sure. And when they swipe it, hold it, it tells them you are alerting law enforcement in 3, 2, 1 in less than 6 seconds. All of your staff, every teacher and staff member on campus, law enforcement that's a half a block away, their command, 911, fire and EMS, get the notification. And it's an audible, very annoying notification. It's something you're not going to miss. You're not going to mistake it for a text or an email. Apple came to us 9 months ago. They said, we love what you're doing. They granted us permission. So teachers and staff, they like to have their phones off or down, I should say, volumes down or do not disturb in class. Apple granted us permission. Their phones can be down. Our system will override both Apple and Android, and they will get the notification. So there is no mistaking of what's going on. There's a communication piece that when 911 is busy, they will have direct, and when I say instantaneous, I'm talking about a millisecond because we are app to app. In a millisecond, they can send direct messages to law enforcement when 911 is busy. So we've solved that challenge as well. On the law enforcement side, we are the only technology, the only thing out there that solves dozens of challenges for law enforcement. I'll show you those very quick. This is what they see. Those dots are your staff and teacher. They can real-time GPS see them. They can communicate with them. We can filter through. The red shaded circle is the location of the person that activated, that saw the threat. We are giving everybody more information, and more information allows them, empowers them to make a better educated decision. So it's not just on the user side, it's on the law enforcement side as well. I have stood out in front of these buildings after or during an event, and you stand there and you look at it and you go, where do we start? We had a 1.8 million square foot warehouse in Denver, active shooter at our Safeway warehouse. The only information we got to respond was door 32. Yep, good luck with that. We had nowhere to even start. It wasn't 45 minutes later that we finally caught up with the shooter and took care of what we needed to do. So we have solved all of those challenges, not just for your user, but for law enforcement only. And once again, very simple to use phone app. Have any questions I can answer? Well, that was quick. I think I did that in one breath.
Questions?
And so from my understanding, this isn't just, and Kevin, you might be able to speak to this too, this isn't just about our school district that we're talking about, correct? You mentioned something about a community approach.
I did not, no, sir. Just this afternoon, we deployed in a large orthopedic center, 9 of them to be exact, in 3 different counties just today. So it's now applying everywhere. Any big corporate campus, schools, colleges, we're in hospitals. So we're, as you can see, it's just solving a lot of problems that 911 just can't.
You talked whenever on your presentation about the geocoding. Can you talk a little bit about that and about the geofencing? And also, we have walls that are sometimes difficult to communicate through. This room right here, I'm safe if we have a nuclear weapon. How does that work with walls like that?
Yes, sir. So the geofencing, what we do is we come in and we draw a line around the school property. So the app only works when your staff is on the school premises. They cannot use it at home. They cannot use it at Walmart. So you're not going to get false activations. It only works when they're inside the geofence. The other portion of that is the bandwidth in our technology. We've all been to a major sporting event. You try to send a text and it just spins and spins and spins. Well, ours is app to app. And the bandwidth on LifeSpot for our app to talk to the other apps is so low. For example, we can, if we had 2,000 users using it at one time, it would be less bandwidth than one person watching a YouTube video. So the chances are, and we work off of cellular and Wi-Fi, so the chances of that signal not getting out are slim to none. Is it possible? Yes. But if it's that bad, then that means you're not calling 911 either. So our system is designed to use the least bandwidth possible. That way the message gets out much faster even as well.
And you also talked, I found it fascinating, that you could distinguish whether you were locked in a room, whether you were hurt. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because go back to what you mentioned about the teacher that died. Their teacher died because he did a heroic thing. He got shot, but no one could find him.
Yes, sir.
And that just, it's a kick in the gut.
Yes, sir. We believe in empowerment, as I said, and we want to empower your staff and teachers to make better educated decisions. Opposed to some of the protocols that are out there today is if you hear this, everybody do this, lump everybody under one umbrella. That's extremely dangerous. So we give them more information to know what decision they should make. So if you see on your screen, that red shaded circle is where the threat is. That yellow dot is their location. They can see where they're located relative to the threat. If it's real close to them, it's best for them to fortify their position. Now, we use the word fortify for a specific reason as well. What visual does that word give to you? Fortify, opposed to just lock your door or hide. We want you to fortify. There should be no more hiding under desks. We've already lost enough children seeing that happen. We need to take those desks and fortify your position. You barricade your door and then flee by simple definition. We have had documented cases of an active shooter alert going off and people running their kids back into the building so they can lock down. If you can get away, get out. And where do you run? Can't tell you. Empower you to make that decision. Get out and keep going. Because we know it's safer to go away. By definition, flee is create distance between you and a threat. Simple enough. So that's the empowerment that we teach. And those decisions go directly to law enforcement. Law enforcement will see if you're a yellow dot, you're fortified. If you're a green dot, you fled. God forbid we call it our Dave Sanders button out of respect for Mr. Sanders. That was actually Denver's team that bypassed Mr. Sanders and respectfully, that was a huge mistake. We made a huge mistake, and we left him there, and he bled out and died. So now, if you're injured or with somebody that's injured, you simply hit that injured button that you see on the app, and it turns your dot to red, instantly showing law enforcement on that big screen. We have 4 red dots in the northwest corner of the school via radio. I'm sending the troops and medics in there to go get those people right away. Opposed to can't get the information out, we just don't know. Today we have to go room to room, and that takes forever. And as we all know, an arterial wound, you can bleed out in less than 3 minutes. Yeah, we've got to do something more. So they will see where the injured are, and via radio they can get the troops in there, get the medics in there, and save lives.
Does local law enforcement have to be users of the app too for the districts to communicate with them, like county police and
Yes, ma'am.
Texas Rangers? And
Yes, ma'am. Yep. As the lieutenant talked about, we have, for example, we are in SAPD and Bexar County. They overlap because some of the Bexar County deputies will respond into San Antonio and back and forth. So yes, we need law enforcement support, and we donate it to law enforcement.
Oh, wonderful.
You can tell them how many are injured?
Yes, ma'am. Great question. Via the chat, you hit injured, law enforcement can see that. They can send you an individual message, a private chat. They can say, can you call me, or is it safe I can call you? We can get on the phone and say, this is what you do with the tourniquet. How many injured? What type of injuries? We can already start to triage and treat before the threat is even located, before people even get there. So we have that capability now.
Dr. Price, do you envision having this on every employee's phone, personal phone?
Well, I think that's one of the things that one of the questions that have come up, where you've had these in schools, what if you have a group of teachers that say, don't want it?
Again, wonderful question. We've had one. And after the presentation was done and everybody put it on their phone, she politely pulled me aside and said, okay, I was wrong, I'll take it. So we've had one.
I think I would love to have it on everyone's phone. I think it's just the next step of making sure we know where people are. That's one of my biggest fears has always been, and before all the shooting, even whether it's a fire or, we have bomb drills and bomb threats, where am I accounting for everyone that's there? Have we left anyone behind? And this just, to me, where I can see where all our folks are, is just a big plus.
So tacking onto that, so how does the reunification process work if the geofence is around the campus itself and they leave the campus?
Again, wonderful question. when you open the app inside the geofence, you get the alert, you open the app, we will track you, we'll GPS you and communicate with you to the ends of the country. So you can go out as far as you want. We will have capability to do that. So you have to open it in the geofence, and then it will stay with you even outside the geofence.
So let's say you have a bus driver and there's an incident. That's probably not in the geofence, correct?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. But you will receive the notification. You will receive alert. Anybody that has it on their phone anywhere in the country. We did that for bus drivers. So if the bus driver's on the other side of the county with a bus full of kids coming back to school, somebody sets it off within the geofence, they will receive the alert, turn around, go the other way, go to the police station. And that's also for staff as well. We don't want anybody driving into a bad situation, so you will receive that alert. You don't get any of the chats. You don't get anything else. You simply see the Google Earth view of your campus with a red shaded circle saying, don't come here.
As far as tracking the shooter, what's the primary way to do that? Is it just you're seeing the people that are in the building texting, basically saying, here's where they're, how do you track that?
Yes, sir.
Primary through the
That's where we're at with technology right now. We really can't, unless we could shoot the shooter in the rear end with a dart and track them. That may be fun. But no, right now, that's all we have as far as technology will allow us for now. We are working on some things and some ways to be able to do that. Our King Super grocery store in Boulder, Colorado, I'm sure you'd heard that story. The man with the rifle comes in and executes, and I'm sorry, 8 people. There were folks inside that could see the shooter. They were calling 911 and getting a busy signal. There were people outside. A nail salon in the strip mall where the grocery store is at was calling in saying, hey, I thought I heard screaming. We hear sirens. Is it safe? So by the texting, those people inside could have sent, I see the shooter. And when they do that, law enforcement will get that. If you can see that second one, it says bad guy at my door. It says John Doe sent that. All I have to do is click on that text. And that bubble pops up showing me exactly where John Doe is at. And what we are teaching the users is simply send one word, help, or shooter, I see shooter. That's it. And then law enforcement will see that, click on that, and then via radio, they will send the troops to where that came in. When those people are stuck inside their classroom, fortified, shooters kicking in their door, they can't get through to anybody, now they can.
And we have a way of ensuring that our staff who end up putting this on their phones, there's no invasion of privacy, and nobody's going to go in and see what's on your phone. There's nothing that can,
Yes, ma'am.
so there's no worries
It's
there.
just like any other app that we have on our phone. And the only information that we collect is your name, your phone number, and your email, which will be a school public a school email. So that's all the information we have. That's it.
Is this used at all? Seems like it'd be pretty useful. Do you have any type of mode or application to use this for threat training scenarios of any kind? Seems like it would be really useful to use this to walk through different scenarios at campuses and schools and things like that.
Yes, not anything in specific, but we were just out probably 4 or 6 weeks ago with SAPD, Bear County. We had 140 people show up, and we did scenario-based training time and time again. We had medics, they had actors, and tourniquet. I mean, they blew it up as real as we could get. And the app, and that's why everybody jumped on it, especially in the law enforcement community, because they were able to do things so much faster and so much more streamlined because they had the information that they needed. There's a lot of places that we will and want to take this. For example, tomorrow, we are deploying in the San Antonio Zoo and the Pearl. So it's going as many places as we can, because the more eyes and ears we have, that's what we need. More eyes and ears we have. Your groundskeepers, your lunch ladies, those are going to be the first people that see that threat. And if they don't have the capability to set the alert off, then seconds save lives, and that's going to take several minutes to get the resources there that we need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions? We'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for the BISD Board of Trustees to authorize the superintendent to execute any documents necessary to secure the use of the LifeSpot application service.
Okay, we have motion and second. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, motion carries. Very good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Wes, you're up for the monthly financial report.
Evening, everybody. You have been provided Oh, we are. Okay. We're not to that yet, but started you've been provided the monthly financial report for the period July 1 through August 31. We're as far as the actual results of operations, we're still very early in the year. There's nothing significant to talk about at this point in time. We're focusing a lot on the Child Nutrition Fund this year, and it's good to see that in July and August generally you have expenditures in that fund, and it's good to see that they're not starting off in hole this year. That is encouraging. The most significant thing in the monthly financial reports this month is budget amendment number 1. We've been provided significant detail on that in finance, and that same detail was provided to the board update that affects the general fund, the debt service fund, and child nutrition fund. I don't have a lot to say about the donation report. There was this is the time of year when we get a lot of booster donations. There are lots of small individual donations, and we appreciate every single one that added up to the 76,000 about that month in August. And if there are any questions that you may have related to the budget amendment or the results of operation, I have to address.
Just a quick question. This is through the end of August, and of course, tax bills go what? Last week of September, first week of October? When do they go out?
They go out in October.
October. Okay. Okay.
Bills will be based on the roll that'll be as of October.
So at our November meeting, mid-November, we'll have an idea of payments in the first month. People got the bills.
Generally, we get 80% of our levy in October, which is pretty good for a school district. It's entirely based on that.
The discount. How many districts in the state of Texas give that discount out?
It's single digits. I'm not sure. What did I
I mean, I knew the answer to the question.
Good, 'cause I don't know.
Okay.
And can you be specific about the discount, just in case there's anyone who hasn't
Well,
heard yet?
I take advantage of that because 3% is 3%. Maxie, where are you? Okay. Yeah, 3% is 3%. And really, when you think about it, because the money is not due till January, right? So really, by saving 3% for the months of October, November, December, it's really a 12% return on your money in those 3 months. That's really what it is. Well, it is. Do the math. It is.
No, I know we talk about it a lot, but I like repeating it because it's a handful of districts. It comes down to whatever, a tenth of 1%. If there's 1,000 districts in the state, not only do we not have to do that, no one does it. And I think it's, some of the least that we can do to show some respect to our taxpayers. The only bad thing for us is that's not reflected in our rates, right? It's basically our rate because almost all our payments come in October. Our rates, our effective rate is lower than the published rate. So it's even lower than what we say it is because we offer this discount. That's one way for us to lower the rate, even though I know we're going to talk about shortly, while we are at the lowest rate allowed this year by law. So it can fly under the radar no matter how many times we mentioned. Maybe it doesn't fly under the radar. I don't know.
And to give kudos to the county Kendall County is one of the few counties that gives the discount out as well. Bear County does not, but Kendall County does. So kudos to them. Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Scott? We do need a,
I move to the board accept the monthly financial reports as presented by the district.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, wonderful. So, Mr. Scott, we're going to have a proposed tax rate public hearing, are we not?
We are. In June, we adopted a budget based on the values that we knew at the time, which were preliminary values. I was told to add sparkle.
Isn't that your middle name?
It is. It is.
But you see the sparkle on the screen, don't you?
By Texas Education Code 44.004, we're hearing to discuss the tax rate. Here is what has received a whole lot of talk this year. It's a picture of what our appraisals looked like last year, what our property values looked like last year, and what they look like this year. There's a 32% increase in the market value of properties and a 21% increase. This, by the way, is the certified values, what we published in on September 4th in the Bernie Star with the certified estimate provided by Kendall County. Since that publication, we have received certified values. That we normally have certified values before that time, but due to the very, very large amount of appeals that were filed, they did not have certified values at the time. All right, just a picture of the growth in property valuations over the last 7 years, almost doubled from 6.2 million to a little over 6 billion, excuse me, to a little over 11 billion this year. Picture of new property values that were added to that. They have almost doubled as well. Here is a picture of our tax rate over the last 15 years. It probably would have been better if I'd gone back to 2006, because the thing to note about the tax rates between 2009 and 2018 is that the maintenance and operations component of that rate has been $1.04 through the entirety of that time period. The fluctuations you see are fluctuations in the INS rate. 2018 was the last year prior to House Bill 3, and you can see the rate drop every year since then, which is 17 cents over those years, and that's all imminent. The tax rate has remained largely the same, except in 2021.
You know, Wes, what you're correct in pointing out that it's the M&O rate that has declined from $1.04 to, with this proposal, 85.4 cents. That's about an 18% drop in 4 years. The state of Texas, as we mentioned at last month's meeting, the controller has estimated there's a $27 billion surplus. Mm-hmm. We cannot know for sure how the legislature is going to act, but it seems that a lot of the candidates for office are proposing that a decent chunk of that surplus goes towards property tax reduction to offset the significant appraisal increases. And so we'll see by May, June, certainly by the time they close their session around Memorial Day, we'll see what tax relief in terms of the rate will be. Yes. But if I had to bet, a buck, I'd say we're going to see a nice drop. So we'll see.
There's a couple of things that would go along with that. Look at the M&O tax rate. It's 0.8046, which is the lowest rate that we can compress it to at this point in time. That was based on a 4.5% increase in property values anticipated statewide. That came in at 17%. And so, you know, in theory, if the compression model was flexible enough to account for actual average compression, you know, we would have been way down low and like much lower. 67% of all Texas school districts are at, and so yeah, that need is evident.
But you look at us, I mean, you gave us the forecast that our recapture will go to $9 million. That was in the monthly report. That's about 9 cents. So over 10% of the maintenance and operation tax rate that our taxpayers are paying goes to Robinhood, and that's happening all over the state. So that alone should tell the legislature they need to have property tax compression. Why should taxpayers have to pay a tax rate when it does not go to public education, which is exactly why, when Garrett mentioned before, in our 9-page write-up on our priorities, we're advocating using some of that state surplus to reduce the tax rate, because as we've mentioned before, what happens is appraisals go up, people pay more in property taxes, the state takes the money and the local district gets the blame. That's not right. And we were out of Robinhood, you know, this past year. So in 1 year to go from 0 to 9 million is a hit.
Well, and also I think even the language shows like using some of the money to fund tax compression or tax rate reduction. I mean, the actual fact is using some of that money so the state stops taking 10% of our M&O tax rate to pay their bills.
Right.
But the language is in like, well, we'll have this surplus, so we're going to give it to the schools because we'll do this really nice thing. When they're taking 10%, you know, one out of every $10 out of the M&O tax for their bills. So just not to belabor the point, but I think the language matters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes. Back to the M&O tax rate, that is a 2.6% decrease from prior year.
Now the golden pennies, that is exempt from Robinhood, correct?
Those are exempt from Robinhood.
Right. Right.
Our entire proposed tax rate, M&O rate of 0.8546, sinking rate of 0.324, which is the same rate as it was last year, for a total of 1.7. Let's see. Okay. Of course, we're required to disclose a voter approval tax rate of 1.798. That is, of course, higher. We don't have voter approval to adopt the 1.176. It's just sometimes you look at yourself over the available pennies that we do have and the voter approval tax rate. If we were to, just as a reminder to the board, if we were to adopt additional pennies, we would have to go to a vote. That gap between that we're adopting the voter approval tax rate is just fulfilling the law right and disclosure. It's not variable. That makes sense. All right, and this was published in the Attorney Star and on our website for the last few weeks. Shows that there is when you just look at residents in the within the geopolitical boundaries of Bernie ISD, there was a 19% increase in the market value of the residents, a 3% increase in the taxable value. So the gap there is that you had a 60% increase in your homestead exemption from 25 to 40,000. You have the homestead cap that kicks in that says that your taxable value is not going to increase any more than 10%, and then when you tack the lower tax rate onto that, it's for the average residents in Bernie ISD, that's actually a 1% increase in actual.
So for those that have their taxes frozen, between the taxable value frozen, not the appraised value, for that 31% of our local residents who are 65 or over disabled, they should actually see a reduction in their school taxes, should they not? Because of the homestead exemption increase and the reduction in the tax rate?
You were talking about frozen value?
Frozen, for those whose taxable values are frozen.
For those whose taxable values are frozen, they're really going to see more benefit next year when any decreases in rates apply to them as well.
So that does not apply to them this year, next year? Okay. But they would get the benefit of the appraisal of the homestead exemption increase.
They should get the benefit of the homestead.
So if you're 70 years old and your property is frozen, you'll see a reduction of about $175 in your school taxes.
Yeah. You look, the big one will be next year if we look back at that 2000, so much significantly higher than what it's two, and you're frozen since 2009. It's been a benefit from the standpoint that it has not changed for those 13 years. But next year, we had the constitutional amendment. We'll kick whatever lower rate is in at that time. That is the presentation, and I'll
to go into a public hearing. So it is now 8:45 p.m. We will open the public hearing on the proposed tax rate for Bernie ISD and welcome anyone who wants to come forward to make comments. I'm looking at you, Maxie. We're baiting you because it's been like 5 years since somebody's actually come to speak at one of these things. So.
I just take issue with the no new revenue situation, okay? I spoke at Commissioner's Court about this, okay? And my no new revenue number would require me to have a tax rate of like 0.2% or something, okay? To make me revenue neutral. But I understand, people play their games, and I'm paying a lot of taxes for other people. But again, I just want to take issue with no new revenue stuff. But again, I'm an 81% guy, okay, based on their little love letter they sent me. It's not quite that bad, okay, after I did all the appraisal stuff and everything, but it's still painful. But I do appreciate everything you've done. We're gonna have coffee, and you're gonna have to explain to me the over 65 tax exemption stuff. I don't understand what
you're not there, are you? You're not.
I'm married old, okay. She's 60. I'm the young guy. But anyways,
But I did.
I do appreciate you guys for lowering it. I understand you're doing the best you can, but I'm looking forward to next year with it going down even more significantly than this year. So thank you, guys.
There you go. Okay. Does anyone else want to speak in the public hearing? Okay, so not seeing anyone, it's 8:47. We will close the public hearing and now take a look at a resolution to adopt the proposed tax rate for 2022.
Mr. Senna, reluctantly, I'll make this motion because I don't like the wording of it. As Dr. Tidwell has mentioned, we've lowered our tax rate to the lowest rate that we possibly can on the maintenance and operations side, and we're still required to put language in there that says we're increasing the taxes. So in my protest, I will make the motion that I move the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of $1.1786, which is effectively a 22.23% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Okay, and I don't know that we need to go into the detail. It's in this 9-page write-up about the tax floor, the tax rate floor, but that's what you're really referring to. By law, we can't go any lower than what we have. So, okay, we have a motion from Mr. Fryer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, we have lots of seconds. Okay. All right, everybody wants to see the tax rate reduced. Okay, any other questions? All right, all those in favor of the motion to set the tax rate, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We have a tax rate. All right. And by the way, we're glad to see that the county and the city are joining us. This is our 4th year in a row reducing the tax rate. They're joining us now in reducing the tax rate for the first time. Okay. Okay, what's next on the agenda?
We are the agreement between us and Kendall County for the EMS.
Okay, so you want to go through it? Is this Henry or is it something you cover?
Well, it's just something that we've given to you. We've discussed this in closed session. We've worked it out with the city to lease them 3.452 acres located near Highway on Voss, and it's just us trying to work with our community. A great rate. And Henry, it took a little while just because when you get two legal entities working together, we like to hire a lawyer. So,
but it is good.
It's a great thing for our community, and I think it shows more and more of all of us working together for the best.
I hope it's a trend that continues, because that 3.5 acres is on a part of the Voss property that we really would use for something else. So. Okay, and I know the county's already approved this. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I motion for the BISD Board of Trustees to approve the resolution and ground lease agreement with Kendall County, Texas, as presented.
Mr. Wilson has made a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And our next thing, again, we spoke about this in closed session a couple of times, and I messed up bringing it forward last time. I thought it was on consent, and it wasn't, so bringing it back to us. This is just us, again, working with our partners, Fair Oaks City, on sidewalks for the area, and we're contributing $35,000. And again, it's what we need to be doing.
Yep, it's a nice improvement to that school property. Okay, any
Mr.
questions?
President?
Yes, go ahead.
We can ask. Okay. I move that the Bernie ISD Board of Trustees adopt the resolution authorizing the superintendent or his designee to tender payment to the City of Fair Oaks Ranch to assist with funding safety enhancements and improvements on Dietz Elkhorn and near Fair Oaks Ranch Elementary School, and instructing the secretary of the board to attach a copy of the approved resolution to the official minutes of this board meeting for the record.
Okay, we have a motion, second by Mr. Fryer. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. At this point, we will go over future business for our October meeting, quarterly investment report, approve the district and campus improvement plans, progress monitoring report, the EL bilingual report, annual report on technology, transportation, maintenance, and food service. Okay, do we have a motion for adjournment? Okay, second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Okay, great, motion carries. We are adjourned.